Welcome back to the Jeremiah Show. My special guest, Dr. Alvin J. Schnecksnyder. He's an award winning author, genealogist, and board governance consultant. His articles have appeared in the Chronicle of Higher Education, Diverse, Inside Higher Ed, and Trusteeship. His opinion editorials have appeared on the Atlanta Journal Constitution, the Baton Rouge Advocate, and the Richmond Times Dispatch. He's a recipient of 7 gubernatorial appointments and a fellow of the National Academy of Public Administration, NAPA. Welcome back, Dr. Schneckschneider. So
Thank you.
happy to
Thank
have
you.
you. And we're on a time limit here, so we're going to talk about a couple more things before we let you go and say goodbye. I would love to have you back though, because I feel like
Well, thank you. I'd be honored. Thank you.
we just barely scraped the surface of your incredible story. What do you think? What do you hope people will take from the story of your life?
That anyone who was willing to put in the work can achieve, surmount the odds. As I mentioned, I grew up in a totally segregated society, and witnessed, participated in the civil rights movement. I was drafted, served in the Army, including Vietnam, survived it, came back, went to graduate school, launched a career. And so I think for young people in particular, I hope that the book is a source of inspiration and motivation. And for people who are interested in higher education, I hope that, what I experienced as a Black man starting a career in the early 1970s, when I was oftentimes the only one, or perhaps, one of two in a professional role, that that too can be a source of pride and inspiration for people who want to pursue a career in higher education.
What has your life been about? Is there an overall theme that you would like people to take away when they talk
Yes,
about you or
yes.
they meet you?
I think mine has been a life of focus and discipline and hard work. And frankly, these are values that I learned at home from my parents. I've always I was probably a nerd, though the term didn't exist back then. But I talk in the memoir about how we got our first television when I was 11 years old, and I just immediately was drawn to uh, Meet the Press every Sunday, which was hosted by Lawrence Spivak. And
The
so,
longest running TV show in history.
yes, I mean, an 11-year-old. I mean, I can recall watching, and I knew, all of the hosts of that show, from his time forward. But I was just fascinated by it because getting a television and we were one of the few families in our neighborhood that had a television. It just opened up an entirely new vista for me. But I think the discipline which I got at home and also at school, and the need to focus and understanding that you had to work hard. I mean, nothing's going to
Mhm.
be given to you. You've got to work. I was in the high school band. I played basketball, and I can recall I come home after basketball practice, really tired, but I get up early the next morning and do my homework before I got to school. I never went to school unprepared, and my parents wouldn't allow for it. So if you're going to play basketball, be in the band, do these things, you got to realize you've got to carve out some time to do your homework and study too.
Yes, you do. Always be prepared. Be prepared. That's one thing.
Right.
That's one thing I've learned from just this last hour with you. So in the world right now, there's so much going on, and there's a feeling I know with young people of helplessness.
Mhm.
How can I change this? I know for myself, there's a weariness, there's a fatigue for bad news and for the violence of human beings and how we treat each other. And that also leads to helplessness for me. So maybe I'm speaking for myself. Um, Have we made progress?
Oh,
Do you
absolutely.
feel
Absolutely. Oh, yes, we have.
you're
Yes,
optimistic still?
yes. No, we've made progress, and the simple truth is that, there's more progress to be made. Uh, my area is political science, and so, studying government, studying the Constitution, trying to, make things work better. We're constantly seeking to create this more perfect union. And so, yes, lots of progress has been made, but more work obviously is to be
Y-
done. And life is not linear. I mean, there
Right.
are peaks and valleys, there are zigs and zags, and it's important to stay focused and dedicated so that you don't get thrown off your game, you don't get thrown off your course, because sometimes there are intentional efforts to do just that. And so
Mhm.
if we really want to make things better, we've got to work at it. It's not going to happen on its own.
You've been, do you sit back? Do you sit back and say, give yourself the credit you deserve when you think of the change that you've brought? You've brought a lot of change, and you've made a lot of impact into, your years on this earth so far. Out of, do you, first of all, just a quick question: do you acknowledge that? Do you take the time to say, I've done something great? Okay, what's next? But what's next, I'm sure, is your next question.
Well, I actually, that's interesting. Actually, I don't, Jeremiah. What I not in a direct way. Let me put it that way. Not in a direct way. Every leadership role I've had in a university has been one where I've tried to be a change agent, and that's I didn't set out to be that person, but in order to accomplish what I thought needed to be accomplished toward creating this more perfect union, uh, I've been a change agent, and what that means is not only moving the organization or the institution forward, but accepting the slings and arrows that come with it, because change is
Mhm.
difficult, and people don't want to change because we're in our comfort zone, and why do we
Right.
need to do it this way? And we live in a world now where technology is forcing change whether we like it or not. And I can recall reading In Search of Excellence by Peters and Waterman that came out in, I think, 1986. And, they forecast, high tech, high touch, that, there'd be new changes uh, to be expected, within months, sometimes within weeks. And so you've got an Apple iPhone or an Android. I mean, there are new iterations coming out all the time. And so, technology is forcing us to change and to be more aware of the need for change. And so, um, again, thankfully, I grew up in a household where, I was told you needed to be prepared for, what's coming your way. And so, um, one of the challenges, in being a leader who seeks change, is that not everyone comes from the same kind of household that I came from.
Mhm.
So,
Right.
you find yourself in a situation where people say, why do we need to do that? And but I think that again, because we live in a world where change is occurring all the time, we've got to learn to manage it, and to use it to our advantage, because if we don't, we'll fall farther and farther behind, and that's not a pretty picture.
Right. And be prepared. Again, that life lesson from your youth, be
Yes,
prepared for opportunity and be ready.
right, right.
Last question. I know I'm
Sure.
taking up your time, and I'm
Okay, it's okay.
so grateful for your time, Doctor. Well, what do you hope, when you're playing with your grandchildren, what do you hope for their future?
That they will inherit a world that is civil, that is respectful of everyone and everyone's identity and culture and history, and that they can be citizens of the world and recognize that we've got a responsibility to lift up one another. And I do think about, actions that I take, and how those actions and decisions are going to be viewed by my grandchildren. They say, what was this guy thinking? I mean,
Mhm.
why did he do that? And I think that's important. I mean, that keeps me humble, frankly, that
Yes.
I'm wanting to ensure that I'm doing everything that the world that they inherit is one that they can thrive in and grow in and learn in. And that's very important to me.
And that's a parent, and they've got to be very proud of their grandfather. You've laid a beautiful path. You've
Well,
walked that path, and you are an inspiration, my friend.
thank
Thank you
you.
for letting me go a little into overtime here with you. Would love to talk to you more about your life and lessons and things that you've learned.
Thank you so much. It truly is an honor to be here, and I'm grateful for the invitation, and I would welcome another opportunity.
Well, let's do that for sure. The book, in the meantime, though, do what I'm going to do. Continue reading the book. Buy a copy of the book, Confessions of a Black Academic, a Memoir by Alvin J. Schexnayder. He has been
Thank you.
my guest this, and directly, I'm going to give you final words, Dr. Schexnayder, to the listeners and to your readers. Invite them to pick
Yes,
up a copy. That's
yes,
if
please.
you like.
The book is available on Amazon.com. It's designed to be readable, though it's written by an academic. But I hope that it's readable, and hope that it's interesting and inspirational. And again, I'm deeply honored and humbled to be on the Jeremiah Show.
Well, it's a really wonderful conversation with you. Thank you, sir. Communicate, but listen more and evolve. And everybody have a great day.
Thank you.
Thank you.